you doing? David Taub here, co-creator of NextLevelGuitar.com. Hope all is well, and I hope your guitar journeys are going famously. I do lessons here for beginners, intermediates, advanced players, acoustic, electric. I try to mix it up. And today I have a lead guitar lesson, and I've been getting a lot of email requests to do another lead lesson with some intermediate kind of soloing strategy type stuff. And I thought I'd throw this lesson together, show you some licks, some scales, some arpeggios, and how to craft a solo. And we're going to be using that rhythm progression that we've played in lessons past. And if you haven't watched those lessons, you want to tune into those on the 2-5-1-6 progression. I'm going to do this in a more of a jazzy, bluesy kind of vein. But these techniques and devices and principles I'm going to show you are good for any genre of music, right? And if you would like a free video lesson that's not on YouTube, be sure to click in the YouTube text box below, and I will send you a free video lesson and a coinciding ebook where I have a lot of these scales drawn out on paper. It's like over 20 scales in this one book I have, and I'm giving it away for free. Just click on that link, fill out that information. I will send you free video lesson, free ebook from Next Level Guitar. It's good stuff. Remember, it's always the chords that are going to give you the roadmap to what you can use soloing and improvisation wise. So you really have to start analyzing the chords and studying the relationship between, chords and scales. It's invaluable. So this is a basic standard meat and potatoes 2-5-1-6 progression. 2-5-1 is kind of the standard in jazz, much like the 1-4-5 is kind of the meat and potatoes in blues. We're in the key of E flat major, and the chords are, in the jam that I laid down, are an F minor 7th to a B flat 7th to our E major 7th, there's our one chord, E flat major 7th, excuse me, to our C minor 7th. Now watch the lessons in the past where I talked about this progression and I showed you all different ways to comp chords, so be sure to watch those lessons too. Because remember, your rhythm playing is so critical and you want to keep working on that because you're going to be playing rhythm most of the time. Soloing is only small bits and pieces, So in my opinion, your lead playing is really only ever as good as your rhythm playing. Remember, you have two soloing options when you're examining a progression. You could solo with what relates to all. What relates to all the chords, it means you're playing the same scales or set of scales over each chord, no matter what chord it is, you're using the same scale. And this is in the key of E flat major. So you could play all E flat major scales over all the changes. It'll sound pretty good. Pretty good. However, we're going to concentrate on the second soloing option, and that is what I call treating each chord as a separate event. That means we're soloing independently over each chord in the string. And when we go to the next chord, we kind of abandon what we did on the previous chord, and it gives you a little bit more sophisticated of a sound. It's a little harder, so kind of really listen for the changes because you don't want to be playing the wrong scale over the wrong chord. It could really sound out there. And not in a good way out there, like in a bad way out there. Okay, so the first chord, when I see that chord, even though we're in the key of E flat major, we are playing over that chord. So think in terms of this F minor chord, all right? So what can we solo? We could solo with a myriad of things over that chord. You could use, F minor pentatonic. You could use F Dorian. You could use F Aeolian, F natural minor. You could use a myriad of different F-type arpeggios. And that's what I did. I played an F minor 7 arpeggio, and I'll tab it out for you. Here's the arpeggio I played. Okay, so I played that arpeggio. And I added this little lick on the end. Because the next chord coming up is that B flat 7. So remember too that when you're treating each chord as a separate event, you have to have enough time on each chord to solo. And in this progression, and I just laid it down using my Boss loop RC3, the red loop pedal. So lay this progression down. And you have to have enough time on each chord. If the chords are moving by really, really fast, you're going to solo over, what relates to all. And then I moved it up to this note because over this B flat 7th chord, you could use your B flat major pentatonic. You could use B flat Mixolydian, which would be my choice for a mode. Mixolydian sounds great over 7th chords, has that flat 7. And you could use B flat 7 arpeggio, and that's what I played the first time. And then the second time the chord came up, I played B flat Mixolydian. But the first time, just shift up with your first finger to that 10th fret, and you play this arpeggio. Notice I slide all the way up to that G sharp, A flat, because that's that flat 7 note. It's a really strong chord tone in that arpeggio. There it is again. Root, third, fifth, flat, 7. So I slid it all the way up to that 16th fret. So that's a really cool 7th arpeggio to add to your musical arsenal. Right? Okay, so then I was up here, so I played this. The next chord is this E flat major 7th chord. I love major 7 chords. Very sweet. One of my students once called them dreamy. I thought that was cool. Very dreamy sounding. Jazzy sounding. You could play, of course, your E flat major scales. You could play E flat major 7 arpeggio, which I did the second time. You play E flat Lydian. I like the way the Lydian, the sharp 4, sounds over that major 7. That's a hip note. Lots of stuff you could do over that. I played this cool little device, which is an E flat major 7 arpeggio. Here it is. And then I just repeated it. I didn't start. It's an easy one to find because you always play it start at a half step behind the root. So find any E flat note, back it up a half step, start it on the major 7 because that major 7 is such a strong tone in that chord. That's a great little device. Remember, all these little devices and arpeggios, it's not just for this particular jam. You want to use it blast it over all you're playing, right? And then I played an E flat major 7 arpeggio like this. There's that major 7th note. It's a cool little arpeggio with your pinky on the root on the A string. And then the next chord was that C minor 7, right? So you could do tons of stuff. You could play C minor pentatonic. You could do C Dorian over that chord, treating it separately, C Aeolian. And you could play all your C minor type arpeggios. I played a C minor 7 arpeggio. Right? So that's a root, flat 3rd, 5th, flat 7. Actually, you could do a C minor 9 arpeggio, and I think that's what I did in the intro. See, catch that B note, D note. That's that 9th. Catch it there again. And then I played just a straight C minor arpeggio off of that C. Looks like this. Good one to sweep. All right, and then I changed everything around the second time around, the progression. So we're back to that F minor 7, and I played this lick, which I really like a lot. It's a little tricky because it incorporates some big string skipping. I'll do it slow. Right, but when you start to build up the speed, sounds really cool, kind of Eric Johnson-y, right? Kind of slid out of it. I hit that B flat. And then the next chord, again, we're going back to that B flat 7th, or B flat 13, or whatever chord you're playing in that B flat dominant chord. I did this. I did a B flat Mixolydian lick. Now, B flat Mixolydian, really cool over the 7th, B flat 7th chord. And I kind of skipped thirds and played this lick. And I ended on that really strong tone, that D note. Really strong on that chord. And I hammered and pulled, paused. Pause between notes. Don't just play everything right on an 8th note or a 16th, Let your notes breathe a little bit. Right? Over that B flat 7. Sound nice, right? B flat Mixolydian, which is the same as E flat major, but you're focusing on the B flat notes. And then, the next time, over this E flat major 7, I played an E flat major 7 arpeggio. Right? That's a really cool with your first finger on the root. E flat, A string, 6th fret. And then over the C minor chord, I just played some C natural minor. With a bend, hammer and pull, legato. And you could just hammer, pull, legato right down the scale. However you want to do it. And then on a C. So if you play them slow and try to string them together in time, I'll try to do them really slow. Here's the F minor 7 arpeggio. To the B flat 7 arpeggio. E flat major 7 arpeggio. C minor 9 arpeggio. C minor arpeggio. Now we're back to licks, that Eric Johnson-y type licks where I'm skipping 7s. B flat Mixolydian. E flat major 7 arpeggio. And then C natural minor with legato. Okay, so you want to try to get them. See how you could string them together over the chords, and you're treating each chord as a separate event. And try to land on those hip chord tones. And you know, a lot of times too, when you're soloing, you're not necessarily going to be saying to yourself, "Self, let's do E flat, you know, major," and then okay, self as I'm playing, let's do B flat Mixolydian. It's more of it will start to flow, and you'll kind of be on autopilot. But this is just a real systematic way of thinking about it at first that will really get your playing to the next level. If you try this over, you know, lay this track down, try it over some of your other tracks, or play E flat major over the whole thing, and maybe just pick one of the chords out and try an arpeggio over just that one chord. Because remember, this does all relate to E flat major. Here, I'll play a little over just E flat major scales over the progression. Right? So kind of get that in your head first. Half step bends are real melodic. Think minor, C minor, pentatonic. But it kind of emphasizes E flat notes. So what I was doing, I was playing just E flat major scales. If you don't know your major scales, that's something you really want to work on. And go to my website at nextlevelguitar.com. In the master classes, intermediate lead, major and minor scale sections, I teach you major scales across the whole neck, how to connect them, how to start seeing the neck as one big scale, one big opportunity, right? So that's something you really want to check out. Go to that website, nextlevelguitar.com. For beginners, intermediates, advanced players, we get into a full online structured curriculum, and there's over 1,250 lessons, but I'm adding new content all the time. This week I'll add another 50 lessons. It'll be up over 1,300. It's a great site. There's a 3-day free pass on the homepage right now, so try it out. You have nothing to lose. We don't ask for a credit card, nothing. Just try the site, 3 days, give it a good test drive. You might like it, right? And be sure to subscribe to these YouTube videos, because we'll let you know when we have new stuff coming out. All right, I'm David Taub. Hope you liked that lesson. nextlevelguitar.com. Put those guitars in your hand every day. Remember, this is a little bit tricky what we're working on now, so be patient, stay positive. Remember, your playing is an evolution, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Rock on.